Welcome to Books, Beauty, and Business. Our goal is to inspire, motivate, and encourage others through laughter, accountability, success stories, and most importantly, easy steps for achieving greatness. My name is Tawny Bro, and I am so excited to have Eleanor Kinsey joining us today. First, a quick shout out to our sponsor. Thank you, Success Headway Advertising and Digital Marketing Automations. This is perfect for business owners that want to optimize their sales and their marketing decisions based on data-driven results. Never miss an opportunity to connect with your customers through social media, emails, texts, with personalized automation that turns curiosity into scheduled appointments. Now you are going to love Eleanor Kinsey. She is a professional coach, a leadership strategist, and a holistic self-trainer, along with many other things. She specializes in elevating awareness and creating lasting change. For the last 15 years, she's been studying the science of consciousness and exploring approaches to reaching one's highest human potential. You guys are going to love this. Let's jump right in.
Thank you for joining us.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here too.
Absolutely. Well, Eleanor, tell us a little bit about your journey and kind of how you got to where you're at today.
Okay. So it's funny to try to answer this question because for so many of us, it's our journey. So it's how long back do you want me to go?
Yes.
But it's been a beautiful journey for me, and it started, I want to say that so much of it started from just a very supportive childhood where my parents were just very open-minded about what I was allowed to explore and get interested in and talk about. And I just felt very free in that sort of way to be able to do that kind of stuff. And then also to have such wonderful role models in my parents especially in taking care of themselves, especially with their fitness. Mm-hmm. So that was one thing that was a very constant part of my life. Was they were very fitness oriented. So I watched them work out a bunch in their lives, and so they were consistently working out. They were going to the gym, and then we were going to the gym together, and we were eating healthy foods and talking about all of that. So a lot of that started there, and just a really great foundation with all of that. And then I really started to heavily dive into my spiritual journey when I was quite young. In my teens, I was really starting to get very invested in researching meditation and mindfulness and all these other modalities that are within us, that give us all the power back, to be able to have sovereignty over our health and our health in both physically, mentally, emotionally, and our soul. So started pretty early, and then I went through a bunch of different changes, careers, but most of that was all based in alternative health and medicine. So I did many years as a body worker doing very deep massage work. And throughout that, people just open up on your table, and it became much more than just working through people's muscles and trying to release their fascia. It turned into, all the other things that are coming up, the release, the somatic holding that we can have, all the stuff that all of our experiences that get stuck in our body and how they, unfold and release through that process. So it was in that process that I really started to feel called to doing more about empowering people to live their best lives, that they have that power. I think I felt that consistently I was there rooting for these people, rooting for my clients, and believing in them in a way that maybe they weren't even believing in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that led me on a journey to coaching,
Mm-hmm.
along with many other things, just along with my own self-healing journey, going through some hard times with my health. I think I went through what many people are experiencing these days, which is a bunch of overwhelm, overworking, overproductivity, and burnout.
Mm-hmm.
And that feeling of not being enough, even though you're doing and doing and doing, and how that manifested in my body, all the stress and the overwhelm, it eventually took me down. I had really thought that I was going to be able to do it all. I was working a lot and I was playing really hard. I was, doing jujitsu, and I was teaching fitness classes and doing all the things. And I thought that so many of those things were healthy for me, but it was still so much. It was too much. And it wasn't addressing the core inside beliefs that were stirring up my nervous system, that was causing anxiety and worry and stress.
Mm-hmm.
And so my body responded in a very dramatic way, at least for me.
Mm-hmm.
It felt very dramatic in that I felt like my body was shutting down. I had a number of different gut disruptions, like I think my microbiome got really whacked out, and I was having acid reflux and just all this bloating, and it was really uncomfortable. And I tried all the diet tools. I took everything out of my diet that I possibly could and did that for such a long time. And I was falling asleep driving. I was falling asleep practically anywhere that I sat for more than 5 minutes.
Wow.
Guaranteed I was falling asleep. I went through sleep studies upon sleep studies trying to figure it out. And it was still this mystery problem of why is this happening to me? And it really wasn't until I addressed that internal stuff, those messages that I think so many of us have about not being good enough, around, self-love and not feeling confident within ourselves, not feeling like we can be our authentic selves, not feeling at home in our bodies. So it wasn't until I slowed down and I intentionally crafted my schedule and my days to really honor that work and to do the meditations for however long I needed to do them, to bring that mindfulness into the day and to start doing all of the inner work. And so that brought me to all of my very intentional practices. And that kind of really blossomed into all of the work that I'm doing now, which, started with, it was coaching, it was teaching mindfulness and meditation classes. And then on my meditation journey, my own personal meditation journey, I really started diving heavily into the science. That's the nerd part of me that comes out, because I really love where science and spirituality meet. And all the science is really starting to back up all of the things that we couldn't particularly put into words why they work, but they work. Why does meditation work? What's going on in our brains? And so when I got to dive into the neuroscience and what kind of brainwave states that we get into when we're dropping into meditation or into hypnosis, I really started to find that there was so much more that I could do in those states if I could intentionally get there. If I knew the steps to get down into those places and to how to do the work. So I started doing that in my meditation on my own, bringing myself deliberately from a beta brainwave state into an alpha brainwave state and down into a theta brainwave state, and then unpacking and unraveling these messages that were deep within me and healing so much trauma and having such beautiful releases and finally feeling at home in my body and feeling like I could be myself all over many months and years. And then I found that hypnotherapy is doing the same thing. So I decided that aligned so well with what I was already doing that I decided to get certified in hypnotherapy. And that's where I'm at now, is I'm coaching and doing hypnotherapy, and I'm adding in breath work, and I'm going to be adding body work back into the process to really help people release that trauma from their subconscious, bring it out, feel it in their bodies, and then release it from their bodies.
Amazing. Isn't it wonderful how, if we listen to our bodies, how much they will tell us about what's going on? And so good for you that you were able to tap into that, and then to be able to go even deeper into it and really like understand it and then learn it and then teach other people how to release this in their lives, just to lead that more productive, more energized life. Just simply amazing. And I do feel like hypnotherapy, like you said, where the science meets the spirituality, I think the science is just an easier thing to grasp. Like it's almost taking this really like theory and making it so concrete that you're like, yes, of course. Now it's starting to make sense to me, and I am open to learning more about it or to understanding it.
Yes, absolutely. Exactly. That's where the trust comes in, right? The trust in the process. And when we know more about what's going on, we get more information about why this is working, what's actually happening in our brains and our bodies and our nervous systems. I think that gives so much more confidence to the process.
Yes. And I mean, you can read books upon books about how, and maybe this isn't like the case with every single ailment, but so much of it comes from our mind, like what we're putting into our mind, or negativity that we're holding on to that then manifests kind of into different things. And having the ability to have someone like you that can kind of walk through a process like that to really help somebody come out on the other side of it. And you have a meditation voice. Like I've told you this before, I feel like you could just start talking and I will like be able to zone out, and then like I want you to like tell me stories to go to sleep every night.
Thank you.
Seriously. But I feel like it's such an important practice, and I'm so proud of you finding your passion and share that and help people really heal.
Thank you.
So along this journey, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt.
Oh, so there was something that you were saying about we can read books and books about all of that. And the books and books part was what caught my ear for a moment. And what I absolutely love about this work is that so many of us do read the books, and so many of us do take the time to to say those positive affirmations to ourselves. And sometimes it can feel like, how is it that I consciously know what I need and I consciously know what I want to do? I've read all the books. I know what I need to do. And yet still not feel like it's embodied. It's not something that's actually easy for us to do. It can sometimes still feel like a struggle. It can still feel like that's somebody else's practice and it's not mine.
Mm.
That it worked for somebody else and it didn't work for me.
Mm.
And I feel like hypnotherapy, doing that work in the subconscious, is so great about being able to move those conscious thoughts. We could say over and over in our conscious mind that I am enough, but feeling like you're enough is a whole nother thing. Actually feeling like that. And I think that's what hypnotherapy is so great about, is bringing that into your subconscious so your subconscious knows that you are enough, so that it is reinforcing that message for you. And that feels so much more like it's you and not like a costume that you're putting on or a suit that you're putting on for the day, but it actually is who you are.
I like that. It's kind of like the, how do you actually believe it, or how do you actually do it?
Mm-hmm.
The process to it, right?
Yeah.
So if you were talking to somebody that doesn't know a whole lot about hypnotherapy but is open to like exploring, do you have any recommendations or like kind of self-guided meditations that you would recommend?
Oh, that's great. Yes. So some of the best sources for hypnotherapy, aside from maybe reaching out to me, which I would happily speak with anyone about this, is to go to Grace Space. Grace was the hypnotherapy teacher that I learned under, and she has a hypnotherapy app that people can listen to, and has tons and tons of information about hypnotherapy, including a number of books. So that's where I would direct them if they were looking outside of having a conversation with me.
Okay. That's good to know. And talk to us a little bit about some things that you feel like hypnotherapy can really help with.
Oh my goodness. So to me, hypnotherapy is really great at anything that you are feeling stuck on. And so that may be weight loss, that could be quitting smoking. Those are the ones that I think many people think about. That's a more common topic. Those are some of the more common topics. Falling asleep, sleeping well, having a good night's sleep. Hypnotherapy is really, really wonderful for those kinds of things. But then I believe that it's really wonderful for anything that you're just feeling like you're tripping up on. If you are struggling to do something, it generally means that there is something in your subconscious that is getting in the way. If you're consistently struggling with this thing, it's almost a guaranteed indicator that something in your subconscious is getting in the way, that some part of your subconscious disagrees for a protective reason, because that's what our subconscious is there for. It's there to protect us. And so for some reason, our subconscious is hanging on to a message that we learned, who knows when, all the way up until the age of 7, your subconscious is being programmed because you're always in a theta brainwave state up until that point. So you're just a sponge. Your subconscious is just a sponge. And so anything that you learned up until that point, whether It was something that serves you or doesn't serve you is going to be there. And if it's not serving you anymore, it may be that thing that is in opposition to what you're really trying to do. Can you think of anything on your side that you feel like you would, that an example of something that you feel like you constantly come up against?
I don't, like, off the top of my head. I'd really want to kind of think about that a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure I have a whole list I could come up with of things that I would need
Mm-hmm.
to, work through or think through in that kind of a way. And let's just say, kind of for an example, if you were to quit smoking or your weight loss, what would a treatment like that consist of? Is that like retraining your brain in a couple sessions? Or is this something that, like, what would you recommend for that?
Thank you for asking that. The average amount of time that it takes to work through a specific topic, so let's say you're wanting to quit smoking, it would be about 6 sessions is what we consider the average. Some people may quit smoking after 1 session. That's totally possible. And there are a number of people who have had that happen. That's all they needed, was just that 1 session. And then some people, depending on how deep those messages go, or how many messages there are, it may take more than 6 sessions, but it's about an average of 6 sessions.
I mean, like, I would like to reprogram my brain for weight loss, positive attitudes, probably like all kinds of things that I would think that would be really powerful for this. And so it's kind of like reprogramming, right? Like rebuild the system up with a new story, a new message.
Yes. A new story, a new way of being, new healthy habits. So, for example, there are a couple of workshops that I'm going to be working on shortly that are going to be available in 2023, series about abundance, about all of our messages, those internal messages that we have about money. Those messages that, money doesn't grow on trees, or you have to work really hard in order to receive money. So, we're going to do a number of sessions on that, 6 sessions on just abundance. And then other sessions on slowing down, being able to slow down and be, and a number of sessions on feeling like you are good enough. Because there are so many subtle different ways in which that core message of not feeling good enough shows up in our lives. It shows its ugly head, and then there we are, not able to speak confidently in front of a group of people, or not feeling like you can tackle that new job, or not feeling like you want to put yourself out there in the ways that would be great for your business.
It almost sounds too good to be true. You know what I mean? Like, in everything that you, like, we were talking about books, right? And everything that you read, one of the things of successful people do, and they talk about this all the time. So there has to be something to it, right? But they're like, meditation changed my life, or this quiet time in my day changed my life. But it's the one thing that's so easy to get pushed to the side because we're so busy. And then it almost sounds too good to be true. Like, okay, sit down and breathe, and you're going to have this new revelation of like this new thing in this new life. And so I can understand why there's a lot critics are like, yeah, you kind of crazy, because it almost sounds too good to be true. You know?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I would say that some of that sounds too good to be true because of that internal message that things need to be hard.
See, that's probably already me projecting that. Oh, yeah, it is being able to take the time to sit down and to kind of retrain that within yourself,
Mm-hmm.
to take the time to actually do it and go through the process.
Yes, yes, yes. And it's true. We're seeing it everywhere. And sometimes it is labeled self-hypnosis, or it's under the term of mindfulness or meditation. But anytime that we can slow down and come out of that beta brainwave state, which is the beta brainwave state is that brainwave state that most of us are living in during our waking hours, either a high or low beta state. And that high beta state is unfortunately where many people are residing, because it's that very stressed out state where we're, anxious and worried and concerned and just going everywhere. Our minds are all over the place. And even just shifting down into low beta, in which you are still accessing your analytical and logical mind, that's a big shift for a lot of people. But when you can drop even lower than that, which we experience throughout the day, you can experience an alpha and theta brainwave state throughout the day when you maybe do pause for a second and you daydream.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're driving and you kind of space out for a minute, you get to your destination, you don't know how you got there. You're like, oh yeah, I don't even remember driving here. Those are those alpha and theta brainwave states. And that bypasses the critical factor of your mind, so that you can access that subconscious place, that place where you can start to release. Mm-hmm. And tell yourself a new message, tell yourself a new story, embody that new story.
Yeah. It's kind of like you have to be hit over the head with the science, right? Because when you see the difference and you actually can see the brainwaves and you're like, okay, this is, there's a difference here. You can feel it. You can see it when you're in that relaxed state, how that feels different. So I think like you're right on to how you're describing it with the bringing the science into it, because it just makes it so much more real, especially when we're in that, this sounds too good to be true, but here's the science, here's why it works.
Yes. Yes. And may I share a study that there's been done? There's been an amazing study that was done a few years ago that compared psychoanalysis, cognitive behavioral therapy, and hypnotherapy. And with psychoanalysis, they found that after 600 sessions, people were experiencing a 38% recovery rate. And which is really great, actually, for recovery rates, 38% is really great. And then cognitive behavioral therapy made a big jump, and it was in 22 sessions that people were experiencing a 78% recovery rate. But then hypnotherapy in just 6 sessions created a 93% recovery rate in clients.
Wow.
So that really just speaks to the power of speaking directly to your subconscious mind. Mm-hmm. That when you can bypass your conscious mind and speak directly to that there's so much that can be released and so much greatness, so many great positive messages that can be implanted in that space.
Wow. That's amazing data right there.
Very happy that study was done.
Right. You're going to have people knocking on your door like, hey, 6 sessions over here. Sign me up once a month. That's awesome. Well, while you are working to help people uncover this through understanding hypnotherapy and the science behind it, that takes a lot of energy, right? You're giving a lot of energy. So where are you getting your energy from? So what is motivating you or inspiring you?
Oh, goodness. What is motivating me and inspiring me? When I'm not trying to cop out of the question, but but in some ways, I want to say that I'm motivated and inspired by everything that comes within my view. That all of life experiences I'm learning from. That I am treating this whole experience as one beautiful lesson that I am learning, and that every person that comes before me is another teacher. Every book that comes my way, every movie that crosses my screen, that they're all motivations, they're all inspirations, they're all ways that I can learn, even if they're things that I don't want to do, even if I'm learning that that's not how I want to be. That's a learning. So in some ways, it's everything that's motivating and inspiring me. But when you talked about energy, one of the key practices that I have is self-hypnosis. And it is also feeling into raising my energy. It's being intentional about what does a raised energy look like for me, and really allowing myself to experience that while I'm in meditation or while I'm in that theta brainwave state. So I raise my energy there by thinking about what you and I learned in coaching with the 7 energy levels. I really start thinking about 5, 6, and 7, those higher energy levels, and what do they mean for me? It means win-win and collaboration and opportunities and intuition and creativity and synergy, and that we're all one, and that this is all just an amazing game that we get to play, that nobody wins or loses, that we're just playing this game. And that's when I really start to feel energized.
Wow. Girl, I feel like you're a reincarnated monk or something. Yeah, so zen. And then when you describe that, that's exactly where my mind went, though, is the energy. So, guys, what she's talking about is we all kind of vibrate at our own default energy levels. And with those 7 levels, there's the lowest level is really that victimhood, that for me, right? And it builds up from there all the way to like this zen energy. And we all strive to be, at a higher energy where we see life in a new way like that, and we see the opportunities, and we're kind of get out of our own way to do that. So I definitely see that in you. With how you find your inspiration in keeping yourself, because becoming aware of it, right, is the first part. Understanding like this is how I'm feeling right now, and I really want to be feeling it. I really want to be up here, and then making a conscious choice to, act in that way and react in that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good for you.
Absolutely.
You girl, you need to just sprinkle this little gold dust around on all of us.
Thank you. And then what I'll also say though to that is that I am also intentional about the people that I'm spending my time with.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that I choose to spend most of my time with are very inspiring and very motivating to me. You are very motivating and inspiring to me. And so that's why I love meeting with you every week, and I love working with you. So yeah, it makes a difference who we spend our time with. Absolutely.
Yes, it sure does. And thank you for that. And I feel the same way. So as a hypnotherapist and a coach and a really kind of this life coach guide that you kind of turned into, how are you marketing? How are you telling people about your services?
If I'm going to be very honest about this, I'm going to say I'm doing it poorly. I'm doing that poorly. However, my favorite way is to have conversations.
Mm-hmm.
That is my favorite way, is to really connect with people, because how else am I going to know what it is that anyone is really wanting, what they're really needing to be able to nurture them and to feel whole and healthy and confident? How am I going to know that until I have a real conversation with them? So that's my favorite way, is to really just to connect with people on a one-on-one, or just at least a face-to-face somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like networking is such a great way to have those conversations with people. So many good ways to initiate that in our world right now, especially with, COVID threw us all into a virtual world. Like we just, there's so many things that we could do. I think we're kind of getting back to that face-to-face now. We're getting more comfortable with that, but so much can still be done. So I was very curious of how you were spreading your message, and how you're really getting it out there. So what, and I know you're a reader and we've kind of mentioned books already. So what book is it that you tell people you really got to read this?
Oh gosh. I think that there's far too many of them that I could, but hands down, I feel like The Power of Now is a very powerful book for me. Eckhart Tolle. I could listen to Eckhart Tolle all day long. And at some point I did. At some point I listened to Eckhart Tolle for hours upon hours every day, with his very soothing voice and so much spaciousness. Even just his voice drops me into presence. So The Power of Now is definitely one of those books. I really love Michael Singer's books. So he did The Untethered Soul and Living Untethered. And those are just really special, succinct, compact books that do so much for helping people understand what we are trying to do when we're engaging in a mindfulness practice or a meditation practice, and how that connects with your whole life. That it's not just this practice that you're over here and meditating all by yourself, but that it comes into your daily life. And he's just got he's a humor to him, and I think explains it very well in a number of different ways that I think a lot of people can understand and relate to.
Awesome. And for those interested, we'll have the links below on the website, so you can check these books out, and you can purchase them as well. Excellent. Yeah, it goes back to that meditation, man. I'm telling you, I know we've talked a lot about it, but it is the one thing, and I think I'm saying this for myself too, like it's the one thing you hear that makes the biggest difference in your life. And it's the one thing that is so easy not to do. So I love that those books will help give some more insight to that too.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, and I would be very, very sad if I failed to mention Joe Dispenza's books, Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Okay.
His books are incredible. Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Mm-hmm.
He did Becoming Supernatural, You Are the Placebo, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And those ones are really amazing books that dive heavily into the science of why this all works.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Super powerful. And he has amazing meditations. Amazing.
great. Well, thank you for sharing those. Okay, so what is your favorite beauty tip?
It's going to sound ridiculous, but it's still meditation and mindfulness and breathing. It's stopping stress at it's at its core. It's releasing that stress at its core. Stress to me is the single most detrimental thing that we are doing to our bodies. And they're finding more and more, it's being proven more and more that stress is the culprit for it all.
Mm-hmm.
There's very few things anymore that stress isn't the crux of the issue.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there are a number of books coming out about that. I think one of the newest ones that I'm just starting to go through is the Myth of Normal by Dr. Gabor Mate.
Mm.
Really talking about the way that stress and our culture is driving diseases in the body.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Stress manifests itself and it will come out, and our bodies are smart enough to let us know, like, hey, the thing is when someone says you're stressed, and what do you do about your stress? And people are like, well, it's my life. Like, I can't, it's how my life is right now. It is stressful. So what do I do? Right. And then yoga, meditation, it's kind of, again, these things where if we can throw some science at it or have a specific routine, like, okay, you're stressed. Here's your, like, not pill, but here's your cure. This is what, you're stressed. Here's what you do. You're stressed. Okay. Here's what you do to get rid of it. I do. It's funny that you were like breathing, meditation. That's still my beauty tip. I will tell you, one of my doctors, when I was doing an elimination diet to see what types of things I am potentially allergic to, one of the things she said to do every day was really deep belly breathing, like, and just digestion. Like, your body just needs really deep breathing. And we're such shallow breathers all day. And unless we intentionally stop to take a deep breath, we don't do it, right?
Yes, exactly. And thank you so much for saying that, because that's the other bit that I'm really diving into right now, is the science of breath work and how the various ways that we breathe affects our nervous system. And it is one of the most accessible ways to actually modulate and manipulate your nervous system so that you can go from feeling super stressed out to feeling really calm and centered and relaxed in a minute, if you know how to breathe right.
Get some oxygen in your body, like breathe in and hold it for a second. Animals have figured this out, people, just letting you know. Animals do this naturally. We do not. I read
right.
Otters, they only breathe deeply. Like, they are oxygenating their bodies all the time. People are the ones that we've just gotten this rat race and forgot how to breathe correctly. It's just amazing.
Yes. It's amazing how much we do it. We're breathing all day long, and how badly we can do that.
Yes. Oh, okay. Focus.
Okay, if I can just say one more thing. Okay. Sorry. I know another I don't know her name, but she's a part of my breathworking class, and not one that I'm leading, but one that I'm going through, that she is she's going to be utilizing breathwork in her practice as a replacement for Botox and for plastic surgery, because she believes in it that much, the power of breath. So talk about beauty tip.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, girl, I'm gonna need to see some before and after pictures. I mean, there's so much to that though. I think there's so much to uncover that we just don't, we just kind of lost. I think we knew probably at one time and we've lost it, and we just need to remember again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what are your daily tips for success?
That's so funny that the first word that came to my mind was sleep. So getting a good night's sleep obviously seems to be one of the things that popped up into my mind right away. But it's going to look different for everybody, but slowing down, taking stock, really feeling into your body, checking in with yourself. How are you feeling? How are you feeling? And knowing that you have choice in that. Knowing that you have choice in how you want to feel, in the energy that you're coming at situations with. So whatever that looks like, however you can incorporate that practice into your life of checking in with yourself and saying, this is how I'm feeling right now. Is this how I want to feel? Is this the energy that I want to have right now? What do I want to do about that?
Mm-hmm.
And I have a whole morning routine that I go through. And I don't know if you want me to share that or not, but.
Well, sure. Now we need to know.
Okay. So I immediately get up and, I first of all drink probably about four cups of water at least right away. Just really ready to flush my system, get my kidneys going and all of that. And then almost immediately I come and I sit and I feel into my body. I get situated into my lovely space over here. I don't know if you can see the space behind me, but yeah, and I get situated in that space, and that's when I check in. I check in with myself, and then I often draw some cards. So I draw some oracle cards, really just to have like another beautiful lesson appear before my mind. So I pick a card from a couple of different decks, see how that makes me feel, and then I drop into some journaling. I drop into some gratitude practices, and then some envisioning for my future. And then I go and do some deep work. So I often do a deep self-hypnosis, a long process in which I'm journeying into an inner landscape, and I am working through deep messages and whatever it is that I feel like I am needing to nurture or heal or support. That is what I will do in that space. And I'm super excited that coming in 2023, I'm going to be holding some courses on how to do that for yourself, to create that inner landscape and do that inner healing on your own.
Wow. So how long does this morning routine take you?
Typically it takes me about 2 hours, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's because of the deeper session. That's because, and that's including long journaling, and, that's going into my deep session, which could range from being somewhere between 30 minutes to being an hour and 15 minutes, depending on how far I'm going and what I need to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah. And I recognize that I have the privilege to be able to do that I have a lifestyle that allows me to take that space in the morning.
Well, yeah, but you've also created that for yourself, right? Like we do
Yes.
create our morning routine based on sometimes necessity, sometimes what we have going on. But I do feel like that's great advice, is to have a morning routine. What, what that means for you. And in order to have that peace, maybe you do get up earlier. Maybe you go to bed earlier to have that. I know when my daughter was younger, I was up at 5 a.m., right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't have to do that anymore.
Yay.
Yes, exactly. But I think that is important. It sets the stage for your whole day. It puts you in the right mind, puts you setting your intention for the day. I think that's lovely. I think that's wonderful. And I think even if you had maybe to be somewhere early in the morning, you would probably get up a little earlier to still find that peace in your life and to have that morning routine for yourself too.
Yes. Yeah.
It's these things that are, this is not rocket science, guys. And it's really easy to do, but it's very easy not to do.
Yes, absolutely.
Snooze button, boom, hitting that snooze button and staying in those covers is very easy to do as well. It takes discipline and intention, right?
Mm-hmm.
To do that type of a thing.
Yeah.
So any additional motivation or advice for the ladies listening?
I just want to say that even though I know that this may or may not feel like it's true for many of the listeners right now, but you are good enough. You are good enough just exactly the way you are. And you don't have to be anything to be good enough, to be enough, and to be loved. And so I just invite people to remember that you are loved. You are loved by source, universe, God, whatever you want to call it, no matter what you're doing.
I love that. It's such a strong message. And for some people, it might be the first time they've heard that today, right? It's such a strong message. And it's so powerful to know that that's so true. It's been so wonderful to chit chat with you today.
Thank you so much, Donnie.
Absolutely. All of Eleanor's information will be below. The books we referenced, her contact information, website, check her out. She's amazing. Go follow her on social media. You guys, thank you so much for listening today. You have a great day. Until next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.